It's been a long time.
I know. I haven't been on here for ages, and I'm gutted, really.
Good. Well, likewise.
I love coming
nice
on
to have
here.
you back.
It's great.
Now, from his very first attempt at cooking, which was scrambled eggs on toast, by the way, Antony knew he wanted food to be his life. He owns 3 restaurants, a new upmarket deli, the Windsor Larder, just around the corner from the famous castle. And then there's this, his new book, Antony Makes It Easy. I don't know what it's about. Our producer, Beth, does. She's been cooking from it since she first got it. What's the idea?
Good. Well, the idea, I don't think an awful lot of people cook. I really think...
We just watch other people doing it on TV.
We're voyeurs and we love seeing TV chefs, but we don't actually cook. We're quite knowledgeable, but actually doing it it's a dying art, I think. You know, it's whether it's down to the government pushing women into work. I mean, it doesn't have to be women, it could be men, but I always feel that we've lost one member of the family to work. So they used to cook and used to teach hand-me-downs to their kids and so on and so forth. Also, school education. There's very little school education for food.
They're trying to put it back onto the agenda,
yeah, but 12 classes in your whole school career. Come on, that's pathetic.
12 more than I had.
I know, but so I really think the country is got great cooks at the moment. You know, there's great chefs, great British chefs, but where's the next generation going to come from? So the idea behind this book is easy food, tasty food. We've told people, which I think is one of your topics a bit later, but we've told people, you know, we build a nice store cupboard, so you've always got something on hand. You're not having to think, oh, let's just go and get a takeaway, you know, all the time. Great pictures, you know, it's a nice, easy book, easy-friendly book. And I think that's the key. I've learned an awful lot from St. Delia.
Well, I was just about to ask, because this idea of simple cookery Delia was doing, but she got into quite a lot of trouble for everything coming out of tins and pre-prepared food. Yours isn't like that, is it?
No, it's not like that. I mean, I'm not embarrassed about a few tins. I'm not going to think about, oh, I'd really like some hummus tomorrow, so I'm going to soak my chickpeas for 24 hours, and then I'm going to cook them for 3 hours, and then they might be so old from that shot.
Tin and chuck them in.
Exactly, chuck them in. So I don't think there's anything wrong with a few cans, and I think canned fish is very good, canned beans are excellent, and I'm not worried about a few cheats. You know, I would never dream of making puff pastry, you know, that sort of thing.
The last time you were really in the headlines was over the banking crisis. I guess it had been just about over a year ago.
It was.
And you were giving them hell. What happened and where things ended up?
Well, we lost 3 restaurants. The start of the recession pretty well started February 6th last year. Lost 3 restaurants. I'd been to the bank in December. We were in trouble. I took a thrifty, slightly Scottish attitude to life of running restaurants, and I say Scottish with pride, because I have a hint of it in me somewhere. But I only ever bought a restaurant when I had enough money in the bank to buy a restaurant. And then we would go into overdraft for a period of time. More money would come in, more money would come in. I'd buy another restaurant, and we'd go into overdraft. It was a complete cycle all the time. The trouble is, the previous May, before the recession started, I'd bought a Windsor, and the money never came back. So by the time I came along to Christmas, I thought, ooh, I'm going to be in trouble in January. So I went to the bank and said, can you lend us, increase the overdraft by a couple of £100,000? Now, remember, we weren't just one restaurant, we had 6 restaurants.
And a big brand.
And a big brand. So 200 grand extra was not an awful lot of money. I'd identified 120 grand's worth of cuts and all sorts of things that I could make savings. But they said, no, not without personal guarantees. And I'm sorry, I'm too old to give personal guarantees. Personal guarantees are something, if you're 20, 30, you give personal guarantees because you say, I can start my life again. I can't start my life again at my age. So, no, I'm not going to give personal guarantees. You've got all those 6 restaurants as equity. If there's a problem, sell the restaurants. You know, so no, I wasn't prepared to do that, so the bank weren't prepared to advance the money, so...
How have you found, because obviously that's right at the cutting edge of the crisis, as we've been hearing about it on the news. Have things improved? Have you seen the signs of improvement? What about customers through the door, things improving?
Hints. I think London's creeping up more than the countryside, but I do think... I haven't noticed any improvement from the banks, that's for sure. You know, I mean, the thing is...
You must be thrilled when you read about the bonuses, then.
Absolutely. I mean, not only that, the bank in question was a bank we own. You know, I said to that bank, lend him the money. But anyway, I mean, the thing is, if I'd had a debt of £10 million, like some restaurateurs, you have the banks by the balls.
Yeah.
If you have an overdraft of 200,000...
Or the cojones, as we prefer to say at this time of the morning.
Yes. If you have an overdraft...
you were thinking of, weren't you?
Exactly. If you have an overdraft of 200 grand, they've got you by the head balls. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's the problem, I think...
I'm sorry to cut you. There's just so many other things I want to get through very quickly. I want to know, you might have seen it, you might not, but there was a documentary a couple of days ago about sending kids away to boarding school at 8. Yeah. And I just wonder, because I remember in your autobiography, you were off... 3.
3. They asked me to do that. I couldn't do it. I couldn't fit the time in. But, yeah, I mean, 3 was primitive, I have to say. Little boy of 3 going to school. But my mother was an actress, and she was deadly ambitious. Had lost my father, so what do you do with the kids? You have to dump him somewhere.
I can't. After the discussion we had, we saw this little 8-year-old girl sobbing her heart out, and I thought, I came in and the producer said, "Do you remember Antony Worrall Thompson? But you said he went at 3. I mean, it must."
I mean, that was how it was in those days. There were other kids there.
You wouldn't do it, presumably.
No. I mean, my kids at boarding school, I tried to say no. They wanted to go to boarding school. It's like a club. I remember at boarding school, you looked at the day boys, or, day pupils, and you thought, they're weird. They're allowed to go home and watch telly. They're weird. And you had your own club of people that were given a life sentence in school. And these people were day offenders. They were in the open prisons.
Day release.
We were...
You had it hard.
Exactly.
Listen, it's great to have you with us once again.
Well, first one from the Telegraph. Headline, our debt set to be higher than Greece. That's obviously...
scary.
Very scary. I mean, they say Greece could bring down euro, all that sort of thing. And they're saying if we go the way we're going, our GDP deficit will exceed Greece's, which would be 12.7. Ours are likely to be 12.8 or even 13% of GDP this year. That's the debt. I mean,
they were looking for some sort of upward signs in January, and they've not been there. We've had to keep borrowing more.
Yes, I mean, we had a tiny little slip into profit, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I know from just being on the coalface, things are pretty tough. I mean, they're saying here banks are reported a decline in lending to business, exactly what I was saying. All that bonuses they're giving, but they can't give us little people trying to run a business.
It's such a shame we don't get the same amount of sunshine as Greece, doesn't it, really?
I know, but that would
the only thing we have in common is massive debt.
It?
Not beautiful sunshine, nice food, great, interesting monuments.
It's just depressing. Why can't we all say, it's gone. Yeah. The recession's gone, let's go out.
Or do what we did yesterday, which is cut back on the hours, cut back on the money, spend more time helping each other and being a community.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, radical thoughts. What else?
Next one from the Daily Mirror, page 19. Fat's got to be a joke. This poor little girl here, Lucy, 5 years old, has been branded overweight. You can see from her photo she is not overweight. When are these local schools...
This is BMI.
It's body mass index.
Yeah.
Which is, there's a calculation, I can't remember how it's done, sort of your height over your weight or your weight over your height or something like that. You work it out.
Height squared, I think.
Yes. I mean, when you look at me, yes, you can tell me I'm a fat bastard. I mean...
Or indeed, the start, as we said.
Sorry. I know you're referring
to the Shakespearean term commonly discussed in schools referring to an illegitimate child. That seems fine to me.
It's this weather. It's getting me down. I think it's night time. It's after 9 o'clock.
Fingers in ears, little ones. Fingers in ears. Thank you.
I'm digging. Anyway, when are these government, these schools, doctors and things are going to get some sense? Just look at this poor little girl and say, you are perfect, like her mother has done. And, I mean, at the end of the day, I've just got out of being obese. I am still fat. But I've been training and looking at these silly body mass index. It's a nonsense. I mean, yes, we've got to look at obesity. Sure we have. But that girl is not obese.
Yes,
I mean, that's a nonsense.
Tell that with your own eyes.
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely. Now, here, my old mate, Greg Wallace, in the Daily Mail...
Have you got what it takes to win MasterChef? I love sweets, I love sweets. They're spanking good.
I can't believe you've given me something to read at the Daily Mail. I hate the Daily Mail with a vengeance. Anyway, that's another story. He is saying the obsession with a weekly shop is killing off good food. I tend to agree with him. I mean, he's a greengrocer. I don't agree with what he says necessarily on MasterChef, but what he's saying there is right, because, we're shopping. I was talking a lot about this yesterday, funny enough. We're shopping once a week on our Saturday or Sunday shops whenever we go out. Big. We don't know what the family's going to be doing the rest of the week. We're wasting, on average, about £600, £700, something like that, per family, per year, in food we chuck away. And also,
Actually, we're busy people. We haven't got time to keep going backwards and forwards to the shops.
You have. Eat fresh food when you need it. Buy your dry stores, your loo rolls, your washing powder, all that sort of thing once a month. Save on the carbon footprint there, but...
You could do it when you wash your sheets, Gemma, couldn't you?
That's exactly right, once a month. I washed my sheets last night, I'll have you know. I got straight home.
Well done.
I mean, no, because before we started this, we were talking about some people, 500,000 people in this country,
fantasy.
wash their sheets once every 4 months. And you were telling me you wash your sheets every day.
When I had loads of money, fantasy.
Clean
I've had to
sheets
cut
every
back
day.
to once every other day now.
And one last one from you.
Last one. This poor lady here, Angie Baker, has lost 18 babies, miscarriage over the years.
Right.
Finally got a little miracle. I mean, that child is going to be so spoilt. It is, I mean, gorgeous. All babies look gorgeous. They all give you...
You wouldn't wish 18 miscarriages on anyone, though,
Awful.
would you?
My mother had loads of them, and I finally came along. So then when we had a row, she used to say, "I didn't want you anyway." But this obviously,
She didn't really have
Angie
you, did she? Sent away at 3.
Exactly. You're right. She's got a lot up there. I'm going to have you one day.
I'll tell you what, you want to read his autobiography. I mean, it really is eye-popping. Thank you. And
No
what have you got, Gemma?